Hi guys, welcome back to Clubhouse Kids. This video will be the first video in my series of record keeping for daycare providers. And so I am in my office making this video because it's night and the kids are already sleeping. So you are seeing like a bunch of banker boxes because that is the organizational system I use in storing all of my daycare materials and my kids' homeschool materials and stuff. And so my office really has become more of a storage closet of banker boxes. But whenever I'm doing any record keeping for my business, this is where you will find me. And so I thought this would be the perfect place to record these videos. So for the first video, I thought I would just talk about my business income and what I do with the money that comes into my business. With any business that you run, let it be small, large, if you don't know how much money is coming into your business and how much money is coming out of your business, that is really not good business sense. And so I thought we would just first start making sure that everyone just has a very, very clear picture of what they are making at the end of every week. I know at the home daycare, the income fluctuates sometimes, especially if you have new families coming in, families, moving, families outgrowing your daycare. All kinds of stuff can cause us to have a fluctuation in our income. And so I want to go over kind of the system I use so I know that consistently what I make every week. And then in the later videos, we will get more into the other side of the record keeping, which is having a very clear picture of what is going out of our business, what our expenses are. So I think I will start with why should we have such good records when it comes to daycare? Because you guys know just as much as me, owning your own childcare business is a lot of work, and there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that really no one knows except for yourself. And record keeping is a big portion of childcare. We have to keep records for the state, and then we have to keep records, our financial records. So I kind of wanted to first start with 3 reasons why we should keep good records. So the first one is kind of what I said. You want to have a very clear picture of what you are making. I know I got into this job because I wanted to be home with my kids. I wanted to be able to homeschool my kids. And when I was in college, I did before and after care at a commercial daycare. And I just fell in love with the daycare environment. And so once I graduated, I opened up my own home daycare, and I have loved every minute of it. And I know many providers are doing what they love. But at the end of the day, we are also doing a job. And if you are not making money, why would you do that job? So this is a career to me, and a career you get paid. And so that is the main reason you want to keep very good records, because you want to have a very clear picture of what you're making. And then the other reason would be your taxes. You want to have very good records for your taxes. You want to have good records for your clients so that they can prepare their taxes, and then you want to have very good records for yourself so you can prepare your own taxes. So those are basically the reasons why, as a child care provider, you want to have very good records. So with that, let's get into what I do with my clients' tuition every week. So in my home daycare, every Friday the parents pay me for the next week of care. And so I'm always paid ahead of time. And I think that is very important because my policy is that the parents pay for a spot, not attendance. So let's say that the child gets sick, they end up not coming to care on Monday, then they come on Tuesday. I don't have to have any conversation with the parents on if they need to pay for that Monday. And then also, the spot has not been paid for, the children cannot attend. I have honestly been very, very lucky in all my years of doing daycare. I've never really had a parent argue with me over paying attendance versus a spot, but that is a policy that I have always had for years. So my parents pay me by check. That is what I prefer. I have in the past had other parents pay me different ways. I've had some parents pay cash. I've had some parents that prefer direct deposit, but I prefer check. So every week I will take these checks up to the bank and I deposit them all into my business account. And I think it's very important to have a business account that is separate from your family account, your own checking account, your savings accounts, anything like that. Have your own business account. And on my business account, it's a checking account for my business, and then I have a business debit card connected to that account. And so what I do is I deposit all that money into that account, and then every 2 weeks I have a salary amount that I have made for myself, and I transfer that amount over into our personal accounts. So the money coming in is obviously more than what I am taking out for my own personal salary, but I know how much I make every week in my daycare. If I have a family leave, and let's say that I have a couple, weeks, a month where I'm trying to fill that spot, I've already accommodated for that, and so my salary is not going to change because of that. So how do I come up with this magical amount that I want to make every single week? So when I first started my daycare, and every couple years, I just basically get on the phone and I start calling any home daycares that I know in my area. I call the commercial daycares in my area, and I get rates. If you can find at least 5 rates in your community, you can get a good feel about how much people are paying for childcare in your area. I am on a lot of nice Facebook support groups, and a lot of people will throw that out on the Facebook groups, but I don't really feel like that's a very good indication, because it really depends on your area. But if I'm in Illinois and someone's giving me, what they charge in Minnesota, it is really going to be irrelevant to me. So I really do try to get the rates in my area. But that's not the only thing you want to take into account. You don't just want to take those rates and be like, well, that's what I'll charge. You want to take some other things into that equation. So the next thing that you think about is, what is your worth? That would be your years of experience, if you have any professional development in the area of early education, if what your program provides, why your program stands out or is different than any other program in your area, and take that into account as well. And then another thing is to consider, that I considered when I set my rates originally, was if I wasn't going to do home daycare, what was I going to do? And I have my elementary education degree, and so back before I opened my home daycare, my alternative would have been to be a teacher. And so that was another thing that I took into account, what our districts in our area, how much a elementary education teacher makes in our area. And so I would take all 3 of those variables into account, and I looked at them, and I kind of set what would be a fair amount for me to make every single week. Now, I do a salary base. I do not do an hourly base, because the amount of hours that a child care provider puts in, not just the fact that for most of us we are open 10 hours a day, and that's not including our prep work, our after hours, our paperwork, our classes we have to take. There's so many things. So if you added up your hours, how much you work in a week, and then you divided it and said, okay, I want to make this much an hour, and you divide it, I don't think any childcare provider out there could make that much money. If you do, if you have done kind of this same type of idea, and you have an hourly base and you're making a decent hourly wage, when you divide up all the hours that you spend, let me know in the comments exactly how you do that. When I divide up kind of what I have deemed my salary by the hours I work, it's pretty pathetic. So but I do feel like what I make every single week, salary based, I do feel like is a fair wage when I take into the fact all the benefits that my business brings me as well. So that is how I pay myself, and then the money left over that is the checking account is going to be able to pay for all the expenses of my daycare. And when you're first starting out, this amount is going to be something that you probably work on over the course of a full year. Your first year, you might say hey, by October I want to be making this, but right now I'm going to be making this, and then every single month I'm going to increase my my salary by this much. Also take into account when you're first starting out, your expenses are going to be a little bit higher because of the products that you're going to have to buy to set up your home daycares. And sometimes when you're first starting out, you don't have the years of experience, you don't have sometimes you have to take a lower tuition until you kind of gain a little more experience, and then you can up your rates. And then how I will give myself a raise every year is after my taxes have been done, whatever, if I have money left over in that checking account from the previous year, I know that I can increase my salary by, so much, and then I give myself a raise. So this way of paying yourself works really, really well. It gives me a very clear picture of what exactly I'm making in my daycare. It does take a year, year and a half to tweak those numbers and get it to the point where you're like, okay, I can consistently pull this much out every 2 weeks, and there's enough left in there for my expenses. So if you've never tried this way of paying yourself in your home daycares, try it out, give it a chance. It is really, really nice to know exactly how much you are making every single week and not have a fluctuation of income that can get very challenging and also can get very scary as you get up closer to tax time. Then you have this fear of like, oh my gosh, I think I spent all the money and now I'm going to have to pay into taxes. This way, you have already kind of accommodated for the taxes that you have to pay in, and if they end up being less than what you were thinking, then you give yourself a raise for the next year until you kind of have a good feel of what you can make. So I think I'm going to end this video here. Comment below any ideas that you guys have for me as we kind of get into this series and talk about our record keeping. So the next video I'm going to focus on the expense side and just different expenses that you might have in your daycare to know how much you want to pull out of each of your tuition checks. Because it would be amazing if we could just take 100% of what those parents pay us, but we do need to cover all of our daycare expenses, and so we don't have any surprises. And so if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, please subscribe and join us here. I am really looking forward to these record keeping videos. I'm also looking forward to kind of organizing and getting my own self back on track. Even this last year, I have gotten a little slack in my record keeping, and I'm going to pay for it in time with these taxes coming up. I know I'm going to be putting hours into record keeping that I should have been doing throughout the year. So I'm hoping that these videos will just kind of get me all set up for that 2020 year. And I'm hoping they will also get you guys all set up and we can just be more professional in our business and be successful. All right, guys, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.